Welcome to the Ambitious Coach Podcast. This is a place where driven, determined coaches learn how to get off the business growth struggle bus and learn how to build a wildly profitable online coaching business. I'm your host, Allison Henderson, corporate dropout to six-figure social media business coach. I'm going to show you how I've been able to create the business of my dreams organically, all through utilizing my social media platforms. So pull up a seat, take some notes, and get ready to see your life and bank account transform. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ambitious Coach Podcast. Happy mid-April, everyone. This year is flying by. I feel like we were just going over New Year's resolutions and goals, and now it's coming up on May, and we're going into summer like, WTF, what are we going to do for the next half of the year? I almost want you doing an exercise with me really fast. Like, think of yourself 6 months from now. Where do you want to be? What are your revenue goals? What offers do you want to create? How many new clients do you want to have? And then I want you asking yourself some hard questions. What is it going to take for you to get there? Why don't you already have these things? What is really stopping you from having that full roster of clients, or really whatever it is that you want in your side of your business? I'm a big believer in manifestation and just talking to the universe and getting really specific about what you want in this lifetime. So asking yourself these hard questions is really, really important. And I want you just getting so specific. Sit with your journal, sit with a Google Doc, whatever it is, and just say, what do I want to create for the next 6 months? And what are my steps? What do I need to be doing every day to actually manifest this? Okay. Not even saying manifest. If you're not even into manifestation, it's like, what do you want to do to create this business that you desire? And at the end of the day, it's only you versus you, right? Like, no one's coming to save you. There's people like me, of course, that can help you through this, right? Business coaches, mindset coaches, anything realistically that is going to help you learn the strategy, but also the mindset components around building a business too, right? But it's only you that is going to be disciplined enough to get there. You are the only one that is going to be waking up every day, making your dreams a reality. Right? So I want you thinking of the solutions, right? Be a solution seeker, not an excuse maker, right? If you have roadblocks in your business that is stopping you from succeeding, what are those, right? So like childcare, energy, maybe you have some low energy, maybe it's just lack of time, or maybe it's the lack of education, right? You just don't know what to be doing. Like, you don't actually understand the strategy, right? So what are the solutions to that? Like, and also, what are the consequences to you not finding the solutions? It's a really big piece of all this, okay? So I want you making some moves this week. No more waiting for your life to just magically fall into place, or wait to actually start feeling more energy or anything like that. You're likely never just going to wake up and go, okay, I feel like starting a business today, or I feel like posting that thing today, or whatever, right? If you want to see big changes by the end of the year, you have to start now. Okay, so in this episode, I interviewed my good friend and business owner, Meredith Brough. In this episode, we discussed so many different topics when it comes to being a mom and being a business owner. She spoke about her ADHD, how she handled burnout, how she got and handled 30 clients overnight, and so much more. You're going to love this conversation. But more on Meredith. So Meredith is a mother of 5 children, and she's a new grandma. She has cared for infants and children for 30 years as a nanny, a preschool teacher, and a daycare provider. For the past 6.5 years, she has helped mothers feel revitalized, connected, and at peace by restoring their sleep and helping them trust their intuition and understand their children better. She has served the most depleted, exhausted mothers who are raising high needs, spirited, and highly sensitive children. Meredith is the creator of the baby-centered sleep system, which is to improve sleep for all temperament types with 8 nurturing, intuitive sleep methods. Meredith hosts the Sweet Slumber Podcast, where she teaches and facilitates a sleep coach school and guides sleep consultants as they fine-tune their abilities and get their business thriving. More on her sleep certification program. It is designed for sleep consultants who are looking to expand their knowledge with gentle, temperament-based techniques. She provides you with her 8 sleep methods and so much more. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Meredith over the past year, and she is such a wonderful person inside and out. She really is a caring and thoughtful person, and it shines through on her students and inside of her business. Her next round for her certification begins May 20th. If you want to learn more about pricing and what's included, click the link in the show notes that says Baby-Centered Sleep Consultant Certification Program. All right, let's dive into this week's episode. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ambitious Coach Podcast. I have a very special guest, the lovely Meredith. Meredith, welcome.
Hello. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So tell everybody, who are you? I always like to start my podcast, just like, tell me your background story. What are you all about?
Okay. Well, I guess what's unique about me, there's a few things, but I just love kids. I always have. And that was my first passion was I'm the babysitter. Okay, I'm the nanny. I'm the preschool teacher. I'm the favorite babysitter, all the things, watch the kids after school, watch the kids, even when I was raising my 5, taking on a daycare in my home. Pretty crazy. But that's how much I love kids.
It takes a certain person to have a daycare center and then also have 5 children.
Yes, but I have to tell you that I was good to myself. There were breaks. Okay. It wasn't a straight 15 years. There were breaks, especially when I had my 5th. I was like, oh, this is interesting.
So what is the age ranges for your kids now? Like, how old are they?
They are between 15 and 24.
15 and 24.
I had 5 kids in 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So those first 8 years were brutal.
I have 2 kids and I'm like struggling. Like, oh, wow. All right. So finish with your story. I kind of interrupted. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to say, the thing about that is working with kids that long, 30 years. Before I started my sleep coaching business, I really felt like I knew kids. I know what's in their hearts. I know what they feel. And I didn't really recognize it at the time, but it's just an intuitive gift. And it's been really cool over the years, helping parents understand what their kids are feeling and helping sleep consultants and doulas and lactation people that, they work with moms, but maybe they don't have the same background. I'm able to just help them have more compassion and empathy. And I think that's a big piece of my story because I really took on some big challenges in my sleep coaching, working with really difficult cases. In the beginning, I really didn't know. I'm going to backtrack a little bit.
Go ahead.
So part of my story, I'm skipping over the start because I tell it all the time. But after I started my business, I was working in home with families for about 8 months, and I'd be in their homes for 40 or 50 hours a week. And then some. There was this woman who posted a video about being up all night. And, it was one of these sped up videos where you can see the whole thing in a minute. But she had 3 kids and she kept getting up over and over and over and over. And this was very eye-opening to the world. So it went viral in every country. When I first saw it, there was like 1 million views. And a couple weeks later, it was like 25 million views. And that's around the time that I reached out to her. Silly, naive me, I was asking her for permission to use the video because it was really helping my clients see themselves like from the outside, like, oh my gosh, this sucks. This is really hard. And I just didn't realize it was that bad. And then I also just at the end of my email said, you don't have to live this way. I wish I could help you so much. And when she got that, she felt the sincerity and she considered working with me. And she really liked that I was a mom. Well, we set up an appointment to meet about a week later. And by that time, she had 5 other offers from sleep consultants who were like, oh, this lady has a lot of followers. I can actually use this to my advantage. And I wasn't thinking that way. So she chose me out of all those people. I helped her. And she told her 100,000 followers about her success. And it only took a couple of weeks with her little toddler to sleep well, which was pretty cool. And all of a sudden, I got clients from all over the world. I had 30 clients overnight. And this kept happening because, people are already at different
Ripple
times.
effect. Yeah.
So it was a very fruitful year or so. A lot of things changed for me in my business and how I did business because I wasn't in home anymore. But the big thing that changed was the level of challenge. It just became... It wasn't clear cut. We had to be very creative. There was a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of teaming up with parents. Like, that's what I think. What do you think? And try this. And then their own intuition would kick in and they'd share what worked. And so I learned so much. About a year or 2 later, I can't remember. I still didn't have solutions for the very active babies. I still had some struggles there. And I really felt like running. I was like, this is too hard. It takes too long. It's not cut and dry. But there was this part of me that was like, no, this is what you need to do. You got to solve this. And I did. And it was a lot of prayer, a lot of, meditation. And so I came up with some amazing solutions that worked. And that became my passion, became my specialty. So like I said, I think that the fact that I really understood kids and how they felt, I had a lot of compassion for them, a lot of just an intuitive gift to be able to tune in really helped me with that, with solving that. And now I'm like their biggest advocate. Those spirited kids and those highly sensitive kids, they're my favorite. And I really like the challenges.
I have so many questions about handling 30 clients at once. My brain is still wrapped. I'm like, wait, 30? Like what? What?
I screwed up a lot. I did. It was a lot of learning the hard way. Juggling and not being able to keep all the balls in the air. And I had lots of really patient clients. But that's actually when I started creating systems and digital products. I got really sick of repeating myself. I made an online course. So that helps so much.
So that forced you to literally be like, you need to create some systems for yourself.
Yeah.
I love that. So I love that you just straight up said too, there was mistakes made along the way. I failed, but I got back up. I didn't let that prevent me realistically from still growing my business and serving my clients and coming up with now more and more solutions. So I guess now explain to the audience though, what do you do now? Because I know that's a big part of why we're on this call today is because you have so much wisdom and knowledge to share with my audience. So explain a little bit more about now, what did you end up pivoting into?
Thank you. So after being in business for, I think 4 years, I started having people ask me to teach them what I do. One of my first students was actually a mom, which was really cool. So she came to me just completely lost and frazzled to then being an expert in her own field. I mean, she's amazing and she's a pediatric psychiatrist. So she's in Romania and everybody just treats her like a celebrity. It's kind of fun that she's my student. But other than her, it was nurses, doulas, lactation counselors, people that were already sleep consultants. And I used to be really, I'm going to say bad about doing too much. I know it's my ambition. It's my go-getter personality that, I used to do and juggle so many different things at once. I don't even want to go into it, but I didn't have time to really create a course. And I'd had a membership site for about a year.
So I took all the sleep consulting course, right? So you decided after that you've been, people started coming to you asking more questions and then you decided to create a course. Is this right?
Well, so the things that came together so I could have a course, that's what I was referring to.
Okay.
So I could teach people what I do. Okay. I took the workshops from my membership site, put them in a course, and we just met weekly and I would assign them what to learn. Okay. That was my starting point because I was like, I don't have time to do this. I had VAs, but they weren't working that many hours. And so, that worked really well. We did that for about 6 months. And my favorite part of that was just the community conversations and the community that we established and solving problems together and having the deepest talks about all the things that we faced. So anyways, I fell in love with teaching then. About a year after I started doing this, I felt this strong urge that it was time to create my full course for anyone walking off the street to learn how to become a sleep consultant. I already had people enrolled and I was planning on using the same material, the same setup I had, but all of a sudden I was like, this won't do. And so, I started creating a course by the week, a week before we met. Mm-hmm. Just as
do it scrappy. I did the same thing, by the way, just so everybody knows, all of my courses, it was done week to week. Yep. And then bam, by the end of it, it's wow, I have a full course. And I did it all in depending on how long, mine was 3 months at the time. So
mine was about 4 months, including mentoring weekly sessions. So about a year ago, I decided to overhaul it. This needs to be more polished and professional. And then I had all sorts of things come up, car accident, health problems. And so we're actually about to launch a new version on a new platform in May. And I'm so excited because it's been a little while and I miss it, but this is just going to be so much more professional and cover all the things. And it's just nice to be able to keep adding the things that I'm learning and other people are sharing with me. And it's really exciting. I love instructing. I love mentoring. And along the way, I fell in love with helping them build their businesses. So that's the other pivot. I also help people set up their business and figure out their strategy, simplify, do things wisely. Sorry, I didn't say that right. Do things wiser or better than I did because of the learning curve. I just want to help people be like, all right, it's going to be a lot faster for you. You don't have to go through all this. And yeah, so I really love that part too.
So before you reached out to this lady though, like the one that got you like all these clients, right? Like, by the way, I'm all about collaborations. Like if my students that are listening to this right now, like you guys know, I always say one collaboration can literally change your whole life.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to reach out to people. So I love that that's a big part of your story, but like before that, or maybe even after that, like were you doing social media? Like how were you marketing yourself?
Actually, that was the main way that I found clients in those first 8 months was going into Facebook groups and just being the expert, meeting people, talking, and then some word of mouth, so referrals. That was the main way I was getting business.
Okay. And then like, I guess now fast forward 6, almost 7 years later, like how now are you marketing yourself? How is that different?
That's interesting because that goes back to me having to do it all and taking on too much. I've gone through a lot of burnout cycles and it's been about 2 years probably that I've been wanting something different and, feeling done with that life and just tired of a week or two of not being able to function. I mean, it can get bad for people. It could be longer, I guess, but for me not being able to function for a week just felt like eternity.
Yeah.
So yeah, just making some changes in my business, trying to simplify things. And I felt really, really strongly in 2020 that I needed to start my own podcast. And kind of weird because it was pandemic. Like, why did I have the mental capacity for that? But I started very simply. And I was only doing like once a month for about a year or so. And I love it because I can't even believe, even with a small reach, how many lives I changed with that, how many thank you emails and comments I got from these women are just, over the moon, happy to understand their kids better and to understand what's going on during regressions and to trust their intuition and learn about temperament and all these things that have become my passions. That's been really fun. So that's actually where I'm focusing all my attention now. That is my main marketing strategy. To be on my podcast twice a week now. So it's come a long way.
That's brave. If you want that to be your main lead source, then yeah, I totally understand that. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, I should say that went from once a month with lots of breaks to just trying to be more consistent to then twice a month and then weekly and still inconsistent at times because I just mentioned I went through a lot.
Life. Yeah.
I know. Anyone who says you just got to be committed, you just got to make this, one of those things that you can't compromise on, that doesn't always work. It doesn't translate for me in my life and my health. And so anyways, and now that I have a VA totally focused on it, it's working really well because I have all the batch of episodes or interviews and I love that.
I'd like for you to, if you don't mind, this might be a little vulnerable for you, but like to share a little bit about your burnout, like why did you ignore certain signs or because like I know for a fact, because I've been in burnout a couple times now in my business because I've been doing this for nearly 6 years myself as well. So like you get to that point where you're like, oh, I'm just going to keep going because it'll be fine. Then bam, like it hits and you're just like, I'm a mess. And for you, it might be like a week, 2 weeks, maybe even longer. Like, what were the signs that maybe you kind of ignored? If you can like really look back on it.
I think that waking up in the morning and just being exhausted and not having energy or motivation, I didn't know if that was just that maybe I had low vitamin D, maybe because it was winter, maybe it was my hormonal side. I didn't know, but there was a time when I woke up feeling that way and I just rested and I noticed that I really couldn't think. I wasn't creative. I just wasn't functioning mentally. And then after I rested for a week, all of a sudden I just felt pumped up and motivated again and clear-minded. And I jumped back into work, and it cycled because I just kept pushing myself hard whenever I felt good. And the burnout cycles, where I would be down or out for a week or something, it didn't happen every month. It actually happened after years of working too hard that it started hitting me like that. And then it was happening more and more often. So my brain and my body were telling me that I was doing too much and anxiety driven, which I had to hone in on that, the way I was feeling, the way I was thinking. Like there was this clock hanging over my head all the time, and I had to hurry up and get things done. I don't even know where that came from, but now that I recognize it,
nobody's putting that pressure on you but yourself. I do it all the time, by the way. I'm the same way. Like nobody cares but me if I get this done today.
Yeah. It's so funny how we do that. But
plus you're a mom of 5 too, which probably didn't help at all. Like you're also managing a household with 5 kids. Like I couldn't even imagine that.
It really helps that they're older. I try not to take too much credit in that department because the hardest years of my life were when they were young, when they're not independent. And when you get a driver or 2 in the house, your life just gets so much better.
Good to know. Thank you. I'm going to write that down. Like it does get easier when one can drive.
Yeah. I just think it's important to not get to that point. So I really like talking about avoiding burnout. So I'm really big on simplifying things now. If I had known way back when that I could have one main strategy that made perfect sense, that felt right to me, and then I have to go on social media right now because I'm going there to share my episodes. But I've simplified that process. I'm using automation, and I'm just focusing on my podcast on my Instagram, and I want to start working on Pinterest because that's long form content. Yeah. And my posts will live forever instead of dwindling out after a week or whatever it is. So I really love that idea. That's one of my next adventures to take on.
Talk to me about that. I mean, give me some more context behind that.
You mean about the social media issues?
Just overall, like, you really enjoy long form content. Like, I actually agree with you. Like, I hate that, like, my stories after 24 hours, even though I spent so much time creating those, are just gone. Right.
Yeah.
I do save stuff. I sometimes do repurpose some things because I'm like, that was a really good story. I can put that as a reel or something. Right. So I do
highlights.
Yeah, exactly. But there is like a part of me that's like, yeah, after 24 hours, even my grid posts get way less traction. Right. So the life of our posts just aren't as great, right? So I'd love for you to, why Pinterest now? Like, why this long form content? Like, I just love kind of picking people's brains about like new strategies.
Yeah.
Like new, but not new, because Pinterest has been around forever, but like, why now?
Yeah. Well, when I was going through all that burnout, and having a harder time coming up with creative solutions or, I don't know. I think it's good for us to know that we change in our business. So for a while, I could be really happy with my digital program. A while, I could be really happy with my group coaching. You're really happy with one-on-one, but you change. And I got to a point where I was burnt out and having lots of clients, one-on-one clients. And I wasn't in a place for the group coaching either. And I had a coach mention that I should do 6-month programs with just a few clients. And that was a really good answer for me at the time. And around that time too, she helped me realize that one of my hangups, one of the causes of burnout was me posting every day on Instagram, putting all that work into it. And my perspectives changed. Back then, it was painful to get 100 or 200 views and, do all the work because I'd done better. You know what I mean? Like when algorithms change and something drops, it's a little more painful. Right now, I'm just like, you know what? I'm posting for those 100. So my perspective is different, but I'm also not posting daily. So all these things kind of, go together. Anyways, at the time I was really burnt out and I wasn't getting leads, and that's the number one problem. Yeah. There's always so many details, and that's why you have a podcast, because we need to make the right posts. We need to have the right language. We need to call them to action. I know all that stuff now, but she was trying to help me think of things that would just take less energy,
Yeah.
exhaust me less, you know?
I think you even said one of
She
your
told me
strengths,
about-
right, was
What'd you say?
writing. Like one of your strengths was writing, right?
Yeah, I love writing, but it takes me a long time. So one thing I haven't mentioned is that I have ADHD, and that's a big struggle for me. I can write a post quickly, but spend a whole week on it, going over and over it and adding to it and changing it and realizing that I said things out of order. I didn't explain that well. It happens a lot. And I'm a better writer. It took me about a year of working really hard on this to get much better and quicker. So there's hope for anyone out there who has that same situation.
It's a skill. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a skill you can work through. Mm-hmm.
But I think because I was spreading myself in so many places, I'm writing these posts, I'm writing these blogs, I'm working on my podcast. I had a big group. I had 7,000 women I was supporting daily.
7,000?
Yeah.
Wait, what kind of group was this?
It is a sleep group for moms.
Wow. Holy moly.
I still have it, but it's not active right now. So people join and I'll go in every now and then and be like, how you sleeping? But it's not active because Facebook changed. So they just weren't really showing my post to anyone. So anyways, I started learning about long form content from this coach. She told me about Pinterest and how your post lasts forever. You know, people search and they find it and it doesn't go away. And that just felt so much better to me. My social media started working well around that time. And so I never really delved into that topic. I didn't do the learning. I stayed on Instagram and then I pivoted. And so it's just hard because, you know, making changes, you've got a strategy and it works really well. And then, wait, I'm going to do something different. And that, yeah. So that's basically how I can explain last year was that I had things figured out. They were going so well. And I'd learned all these other ways to market that weren't exhausting. And then I just felt lost because now I wanted to talk to a different audience and I needed a whole new strategy. So I don't want to go into that. I've come a long way, but that was tough.
So now you, I know, have like a mini mind, right? You call it a mastermind for sleep consultants that are trying to grow their business or are already in business, and you just help them. I guess explain a little bit more about what was that big pivot from last year to this year?
Yeah, it was me taking the time to look at my heart and my energy and realizing what lights me up. I think what I love about teaching and mentoring is that I'm not on my own. I'm very focused on babies' needs. Baby-centered is my trademarked brand, baby-centered sleep. So I was very passionate for years. I don't even know how many years now, about avoiding the tears, about making this more peaceful, about using approaches that feel right, that support development, that sort of thing. And when I realized that I loved teaching, I loved mentoring, I decided I could actually do a lot more good if I teach my methods and share the principles I teach and all the tools with other people. And so that just felt really good in my heart and lit me up in a new way. You know, like I said, we changed. Not only for me did I change the type of program, I also changed the audience, the type of work that I love. But I just believe in following my heart and doing what I feel called to do. And so it's taken a lot of adjusting, because 6 years of talking to moms and teaching them and feeling like a responsibility that if I'm not teaching them, they're not learning. I'm not giving them relief or peace or that sense of, I don't know, I guess understanding your child helps you really connect with them better, feel more patient and compassionate with the sleep problems, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's one big part of my work is the way I impact moms and bring them relief. So that was hard. It's almost like mom guilt, trying to switch gears.
You're right.
I can't let go of my
your little baby behind.
Yeah, that's how it's been. So it's hard for me. But I feel like I'm talking too much and I'm going on weird tangents. So feel free to edit.
Meredith, I wouldn't have asked. I'm just here to listen. I don't know. I always just feel so calm. Like what's the word? Yeah, calm. speaking with you. Like, it's so peaceful. I just love hearing your story. A lot of the stuff, I mean, we've talked many times before, but like, I didn't know a lot of this stuff that you're talking about. So I'm just here to interview you and learn more about your story. So you can talk about whatever you want. I don't care if you go on tangents. This is my podcast. I can say whatever I want. We can do whatever we want here. This is my space.
What I had left to share was, I think universe, God, there's opportunities that come into our lives at the right time. So last summer, I met someone who was all about following your heart in your career, in your life. And that really helped me step back and think it was the right time, because I was already thinking about pivoting. And then all the months I had post-concussive syndrome, I had to rest and I couldn't work, and my brain did not function from about mid-August till beginning of January, which is a really long time for me.
I remember us kind of talking, and you're like, I've been so sick. I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah.
I had to slow down. Yeah. And honestly, even though my brain was working better in January, it's just recently, like this month, that I've been like, I'm myself again. Mm-hmm. So anyways, all that time of thinking, I think on one hand was really good, really healthy. And on another, it was like, there's stuff I need to do and I'm not doing it. And my brain won't let me figure it out. Mm-hmm. But in the past, I would go to events, which I love. I love going to the mom's night out, birth fairs, stuff like that. I love talking to people. That my favorite part is just sharing what I teach, networking, connecting. I get lit up by that. I come home just on top of the world. I guess it was January, February, I went to an event where it was a play center, and I was just going to go chat with moms. And when I got home, I felt deflated. Mm-hmm. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. I used to get home and I'd be like hyper, and it'd be like 9:30 at night and I couldn't go to sleep because I was so happy. But I came home from this thing in the morning feeling deflated and tired. And I was like, okay, I need to pay attention to this. This is my soul telling me this isn't your thing anymore. These aren't your people. This isn't what you like talking about. This isn't your audience, I guess. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, it's been a lot easier for me to let go. And I've been just seeing more and more clarity in this new direction and falling in love with it more, like I had to let go. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm. That is interesting. I'm very much, you guys, everyone that's listening to my podcast, you guys know that I'm like weirdly spiritual, and like, I follow signs, I follow intuition like all the time. And like, I think that has a lot to do with why I have the success I have today, because I just kept following the nudges. And like, even if it was a small pivot or a big pivot, it was just like, I just had to trust that this is where I was supposed to be going. And so for you, obviously it worked out, duh. But yeah, just kind of like looking at an emotion, like dissecting it a bit, like, why am I feeling this way? Like, what's really going on here? Like, maybe what lesson am I learning from this experience, especially from like you coming home and kind of just like being aware. I always say like your awareness is your key to freedom, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so what's really going on here? If I can really like get to the root, like if I can dissect it all the way down as far as I can go. Sometimes we can't see it. And I always tell people like, maybe today's not the day that you're going to like know why you feel this way or why this is happening to you. But it's going to come. It might be a week from now, it might be months from now, but like, sometimes people just really need like a push instead of like this little nudge, and the universe is funny like that. They're like, okay, well, we're just going to push you in the pool or like push you in this big ocean here. And you're just going to figure it out for yourself, And yeah. I hope it doesn't always come down to that point, but like sometimes it just is. And so some people get sick, or some people like something major just happens in their life and they're like, oh, I have to pivot now, or I have to do this new thing. And I'm like, yeah, but if you probably would have listened to it like 6 months ago when it was like starting to like, creep up on you, like it might have been an easier situation. But yeah, I think everything happens for a reason. I am one of those sort of people that like, there's lessons to be learned in everything. And like every negative situation, there's always a positive, always a blessing in disguise in some form or another. But I just choose to believe that. I choose to think positively about all of my negative experiences,
Yeah, me too. And I think one of the things that's most important for us is to let go of that race that we feel, or the pressure that we talked about before, because It was painful for me to have months without progress, months of no income or little income. And especially when I had big goals and dreams that I was expecting to reach last year. But now when I look at where I'm at, clarity, starting to really figure out my strategy, figuring out how to pivot my podcast, all this stuff is coming together. I know 100% that the timing's just right now. And that may not just be because I'm there. It's also probably the people that I need to reach and connect with now.
Mm-hmm. Well, you obviously now have so much experience. And I think with experience, like you can see more clearly in a sense.
For sure.
But I'm also like, follow what brings you joy, follow what lights you up. Like if the one-on-one coaching wasn't for you anymore, and maybe it won't be, or maybe it will be in the future, who knows? But like, just, trusting in that and just knowing that like the money will come or the clients will come. I think there's just so much pressure on that too of like, but what if I pivot? Like, what if nobody wants to sign up for this or wants to do that with me anymore? And you're just like, but you got to just trust. Yeah, there might be some like down months, but just trust that it is going to come back up. Like you will get more, more income or whatever. But like, I don't know. I think some people are so afraid to make that pivot.
Yeah. I think experience is huge though, because I knew, back when I started my business in 2017, that there was many women's lives to touch. There's lots of people to help. It was just a matter of finding them. And I think that's why you and I have work to do with helping women figure that part out, right? How do we connect the person who needs us with ourselves? And so because of experience, I could trust that was going to work out for me again. And it's really cool because it was only a few weeks ago where I just stopped suddenly and questioned myself. So it's normal. It's normal for us to go through that. But I questioned the direction I was going in. I don't even know why. But I was praying and I was thinking, and within 24 hours, I had so many signs that I was on the right path. And all these just amazing miracles happened that week. It was so cool because that was just, I don't know, it's just proof.
Pure alignment came into place.
But it was alignment because all those things were happening to get me there.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I know a lot of business owners just, feel stuck right now. Like maybe they aren't growing as fast as they want to. They have kids at home, so they're not getting as much stuff done. And I know for a fact, like we're entrepreneurs, we wake up probably, but I don't know about you, but I wake up thinking about my business. I go to bed thinking about my business. I love this. This is like really what I can't wait to get into my office to get on calls. Like this is really what I just love, and like the day that like I don't enjoy this, like I'm going to really question it, But like, I just know there's going to be somebody listening to this right now that's just like, I just kind of feel a little blah right now with everything. And I know that you probably have experienced some of that sort of stuff where you like just had those moments of I'm burnt out a little bit or whatever. Like how do you coach your clients through that or your sleep consultants?
I definitely rely on my past experience in those situations. I think the first thing is really looking at your heart and you're listening to your intuition because maybe you are going about things wrong. It could be the type of people you're working with. It could be the type of programs you have. It could be something, right?
I've had strategy for sure. Yeah.
I've had to realign with my content, what I was talking about. But what I thought of when you were talking, times when I didn't have clients for a month and how discouraging that felt. And that is when you question your calling, you question your work, and you're like, am I on the wrong track? Am I doing the wrong thing? Is this not meant to be? Am I going to fail? All those thoughts go through your mind, even in, just might be a couple of weeks without clients. And that's really tough. But the things that helped me through those times, which I had lots, just keeping my vision in mind, which I haven't even really talked about, but I just knew back when I started my business from helping someone, it was life-changing for her. Just reminding myself of how beautiful that was and that there were many people out there who needed me. So I just always kept that vision in mind and tried to, almost like the wrestling match inside. That was my answer always, like, no, remember that. Also working really hard to learn and step back and look at everything that you're doing and how you're doing it, being open to change. Every time I didn't have business for a month, I worked hard and I learned a lot, and I came out of that a better coach, a better person with a better business. And so it really helped me in the future, from the time that I started experiencing that to the other times that I went through it, to know how to handle it. So like you said earlier about experience, it's everything. Because if you've experienced a low like that and it turned out to be a good thing, or business was booming the next month, you can just handle it better. So I guess anyone listening, I just hope that you'll hang on and trust your mission and your dream, and work hard, learn, reinvent yourself, reinvent your anything. I've gotten new logos during those times. I've created entire programs during those times, but taking courses, good opportunities.
I didn't even mention earlier, like I really wanted to ask you more about, you said that you had ADHD. Like I know so many women who start businesses who have ADHD, and I'm probably on the spectrum at some point too. Like I feel like there's some days that I'm kind of like that, and then like some days I'm not, right? I think we all have like little maybe like personality traits that can be relatable to that. Like, so how do you manage that now that you know that is something that you have? And I don't know when you got diagnosed or like when that actually came about, but I know a lot of business owners start questioning, like, why do I do the things that I do? And they're like, oh, I actually have ADHD and I didn't know about it. Now I'm an adult and I can actually get tested for this sort of stuff. But I'd love to like hear your story about how that came about.
Well, first of all, I got to say, if you do have ADHD, that's why I like you so much.
Yay.
I also came and taught in my mastermind, and one of my favorite things that you said was that it's okay if we don't run our social media like others do, or follow all the advice that some of the gurus say that doesn't feel right. And one of the things you said was, you don't have to have 4 content pillars. It's okay. And I was like, I believe that, but hearing from you makes me feel even better.
Yeah, there's no rules, guys. There's no rules in business, no rules in social media. Like you can kind of do whatever you want. I mean, I have frameworks and stuff, but like, honestly, like it's a free for all. It's a free for all.
I was just going to say, all it takes is knowing someone has autism or ADHD or whatever, and they do things their own way and they're highly successful. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, I know that stuff works for people, but it's not me. And so I really like seeing this, and that's been good for me to see too. But for me, honestly, I should have seen all the signs of my ADHD. They definitely came to a head because I was a business owner. Mm-hmm. I've owned little businesses before, and I've raised 5 kids, and I think I've accommodated, I've changed, I've found hacks to work with my ADHD. I think I've always had it, but I was helping my son solve his sleep problems and my daughter, and it was like one person in the next where we were getting them diagnosed. Oh, wait, you have ADHD. It's not just your sleep. I'm going through this questionnaire, and it took some really good doctors to recognize my daughter had anxiety. Maybe it was ADHD. My son had some problems in school. Maybe we should look at this. So going through their questionnaires, I just saw myself and realized that it was my problem too, and that we all shared a lot of these things in common in my family. Found out that my other 3 kids had it too. So all 5 of my kids have ADHD. Mm. And funny thing about that is that my husband is the most like organized, high functioning human being in the world, and he does not understand us. And so that was kind of nice too, to be like, that's why all 6 of us, we can relate to each other, but we can't relate to you, and you can't relate to us. So it's nice for my kids to have a parent who does understand, because expectations are different, coping tools, and all the things that we need to hear, the validation, the compassion, it's okay that you're different. I'm glad that I can give that to my kids, Yeah. So anyways, beautiful. It just, I think after I found out, I really went one of my hardest times with my ADHD. And I think that was just awareness. I think all of a sudden all the weaknesses became very clear. Mm-hmm. And I think I went through a grieving period where I was like, oh, this is something I have to live with for the rest of my life. And this sucks. And I wish I was like other people. And, oh, that's why I'm that way. And, I'd been part of different programs and sat in on many mastermind sessions where I felt completely dumb or dysfunctional. I couldn't relate to the way people solve their problems, the way they manage their lives, their routines, and being able to get so much done on a regular basis, all that stuff.
Time blocking didn't work. I can't do it.
I actually tried that like a week ago. It was the first time in a long time I did it. It was so funny because I had so many things switch, like interrupt. And so like as the day progressed, I was like, okay, I'm just going to switch that to this one. And I'm, looking at my priorities. It's okay. And then my niece called to talk for an hour. And my day was just blown. I was like, forget it. So funny.
Yeah, I try to time block. There's some days it works, some days it doesn't. I'm just like, yeah, that's kind of like maybe why I have like said something neurodivergent, something going on in here where I'm like, some days, yeah, it's great. And yeah, there's some days it's not. And I just have to trust that whatever I got done that day was exactly what I needed to get done.
Yes. Be positive about that. That's one of the things that I've loved and learned to do is at the end of the day to look back at what I did do and celebrate that, because it was something I felt pretty much for years every day. It was like a sense of failure for not doing more. So that's been big for me. I think more than anything, it's just giving myself grace, embracing tunnel vision when it happens. Sometimes I let myself stay up till 4 a.m. And that was something that caused burnout in the past. Mm-hmm. And people would tell me, you got to work with yourself. Like, if that's when you're creative, go ahead and give into it. And I'm like, yeah, but then I have to be mom, and then I'm grumpy, and then I sleep all day and I miss productive time in the day. And so it's kind of hard. I actually try not to do that now because I'm probably too old, my body, to be able to handle it, like health wise. Mm-hmm. But I can't help it. That happens. I get super creative when I'm falling asleep. Mm-hmm. I get antsy and I can't sleep and I just want to I just did it last night. Confession.
I stayed up reading really late last night and I was like, I have to go to bed. Like, what am I doing? But yeah, my mind sometimes just keeps going and going and going and going, and it's fun. But for work stuff, I've been there too, where I'm like, stay up for another hour. Then all of a sudden it's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. You're like, but I got so much stuff done. Like,
no, I know. I woke up this morning feeling a sense of accomplishment. I'm okay.
I love that.
So I think it's just important to, even if you don't have a diagnosis or you don't have all the signs of ADHD or anything else, just embrace your uniqueness and your gifts and your talents and the way you function, and stop comparing yourself, because comparing yourself, whether that's the pace or it's how you do things, it just brings you down. It doesn't do you any good unless you're inspired. If you're inspired, that's different.
So well said. Meredith, you're amazing. I feel like I have so many more things I want to talk to you about. I don't know, any like last words of wisdom? I always like to end my podcast with, what would you like to leave the audience today with?
Oh boy. Of course, what I was thinking about when we started our conversation is completely different, because
what we wanted to talk about today didn't get talked about. So we'll do a whole nother podcast episode on that.
No, that's okay, because I trust that too. I trust that process that we talked about what we should today. And
yeah, me too.
And I love organic conversation and we actually got to record it. Like, that's so cool, because it doesn't usually get recorded when you have a great conversation with friends, just based on our conversation, I would say, if you are experiencing burnout, to definitely step back and look at yourself and the way you're doing things and simplify where you can. Maybe even scratch a bunch of things and start over, which is what I've done. I did my podcast for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden I thought, this is where I need to focus. And I had to let go of a lot of other things. And the other thing would just be, just always have little check-ins with yourself, maybe quarterly, where you think about what you're feeling and thinking and what your goals are, what your dreams are, and find out if you're aligned, and then adjust, make some changes where you need to.
Oh, thank you, Meredith. Anything that you want to promote? I know that you help a lot of people that listen to my podcast. So tell everybody like how they can work with you. What do you have as far as offers right now?
Sure. So my mastermind is evergreen. You can join anytime. It will just be ongoing. I've got a handful of women in there that we're meeting a couple times a week, and that's optional. You don't have to come to all the meetings. But we talk about business one day. We talk about our coaching cases one day. I have a mentor in there to help me. She has a different background, and that's really awesome. And twice a month we have classes. So that's where Allison came in and taught. But we also do like personal development or mindset, or, just the things that help you personally, but help you in your business as well. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then there's some one-on-one coaching and some business help there. And it's just such a wonderful offering. I enjoy it probably just as much as my clients do. So if you want to learn more about that, you can, I'm not sure, email me. You can go on my website and just hit contact, because I'm setting up some things right now. It's not all there yet, but you can email me. It's MB as in boy. Well, you're going to probably list this, huh?
I can put this in the show notes, by the way.
I was going to say M. Brough at Sweet Slumber Time, but yeah, Allison will put that in the show notes. And then also my school right now is a really good time to take that course, especially if you are a sleep consultant, because it's a relaunch. I'm selling it at a lower price. There's a code, you can get it even cheaper. So there's a page right now on my website. I think it just says certification at the top of my website. So sweetslumbertime.com, look for certification. And the launch will be in May. And I'm really excited to start meeting with a new group of women, people, whoever joins, and just talking about sleep coaching and growing and learning together. It's just fabulous.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And I'll have to have you on again here in the next few months to dive more into strategy and mindset. Like I said, I feel like we have so much we can talk about. We can probably create a whole course just on random things that we know or want to share from experience.
Love
to. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening, everybody. Please go contact Meredith. She is just a breath of fresh air, and you guys will love all of her programs. She's so amazing. So thank you so much for listening. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Ambitious Coach podcast today. A couple favors before you go. If you found this episode helpful, please take a screenshot and share it on Instagram. Most importantly, don't forget to tag me at Allison_Henderson_coach. That's ALLISON Henderson_coach. And lastly, please take a minute to rate this episode and leave a raving review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen. Okay, ambition is great, but it's time to get to work. Take action and commit to being 1% better every day. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you again next week.